This is the Dos a Cero podcast, a weekly show devoted to football in Mexico, the U.S., and beyond. If you are a Pocho, Puma, Regio, Chiva, Cholo, Fresa, Tigre, Tapatío, Chilango, or even a Methodist, pull up a chair, crack open a cold one, and enjoy the next 90 minutes of heated football debate. Thus begins the Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Dos a Cero podcast, a Yamarito production. My name is John Jagu. Have our talented cast of characters with us as usual again tonight. Thank you for joining us again. If you have any questions or comments, we are broadcasting live on YouTube, so please feel free to leave those in the comment section. And of course, for those of you that aren't joining us live, you know that you can listen to this and other archived podcasts on iTunes. I want to thank, first of all, some of our listeners, members of the Academia Española, making sure that we pronounce everything the way that God intended in La Lengua de la Madre Patria. I want to make sure we take care of that tonight. But we have many topics to discuss with y'all. We're going to talk about yesterday's friendly between Mexico and Senegal, which happened in Miami at the Marlins Park, a converted baseball field. We'll talk about that. Mexico winning 2-0. One of our own made the game. Albert El Chiquis Campa was a member of the press, and we'll talk to him about his experiences and what tasty inside information he was able to get with his one-on-one with Picolín, which we'll talk about a little later. We'll talk about some Liga MX items, little morsels, things, quotes that have been said, etc. And we will wrap it up with some talk with Chicharito, who did not score in his German Cup game in midweek, but did break his butt. So we will talk about that a little bit later. But first of all, before we get going, let's go ahead and introduce the folks that are on the podcast with us tonight. Up in Connecticut, we have Christian Velez. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing, John? I'm doing all right. I just want to wish all of you a very warm Dos a Cero and many more to come.
Thank you, Christian. We will accept your wishes with grace. Out in Escondido, California, a little under the weather, but he is taking one for the team, joining us tonight in Escondido, California. Daniel Preciado, how are you, sir?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a little under the weather, but I'm showing that grit. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm bringing it. Was that believable at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I was, I thought it was a little labored, but I think it came across.
All right. Well, I am fighting through it. So, but good to be here, guys.
Well, we certainly appreciate having you. I'm sure that you and Mr. De Luna will want to discuss the America Santos game that happened over the weekend. I believe you, at one point, had asked Ronaldo to eat a bag of something. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Over in eastern Hayes County, south of Austin, we have a newly minted member of the working press, Alberto Campa. How are you, sir?
Hey, doing good. I want to say what's up to Uncle Metalero. For 10 minutes, he should be here listening in. And I know I just came back from Miami, but I also just came back from following Hugo Sanchez, the posters example, and rolling around with other dudes in pajamas. In other words, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow.
Glad to be here, though.
Exciting.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure that piqued Ronnie's interest. Man rolling around.
Well, yeah, a man rolling around in pajamas. It's funny because
I can see the fight. I'm not going to be rolling around with you dudes. Okay, that's gay. Okay.
I was driving up from Port Aransas, and there was a song "Pajamarama" that played by Brian Ferry. Interesting. Who knew pajama would be mentioned twice in one night? Crazy. Over in did we say was it South Central in Los Angeles? Joel Aceves, how are you, sir?
Hola, Yon. Doing pretty good.
Joel Ayon?
Yeah, I managed to see games now. I've seen 2 games.
Wow.
A good 40 minutes of soccer.
Congratulations. And at what point did you want to throw up?
Nah, it was fun.
No, well, that's good to know. You didn't have it maybe just a tiny little bit of bile that kind of creeped up a little when you saw how bad they were playing, or
Oh, you must be referring to Chivas.
yeah.
Nah, it was more of a I told you so moment. I shouldn't have enjoyed.
Sorry. All right. Well, it's good to have you with us again, Joel. Always a pleasure. And up in Philadelphia, a card-carrying member of the Lions Club there in Big Soccer Tepec, or is it Big Soccer Titlan? I always get that confused.
Big Soccer Titlan.
Titlan. It's not Big Soccer Tepiapulco, no?
No.
Or Big Soccer Wapan.
No, el hijo pródigo de Big Soccer Titlan. Remember
Well,
that?
regardless of where it is, I know you call Philadelphia home now. We're talking to Ronnie DeLuna. Ronaldo, how are you, sir?
Freezing my pelotas off. It's really cold.
Yeah, did you guys get more snow?
It was snowing just a little this morning, but it's just the wind chill, man. It's really bad.
Did you get the full 12 inches last night, like you did in the first snowstorm?
No, nothing, not even close. Like I said, it snowed maybe like 30 minutes, if that. But I mean, not enough till you can even see it.
Are you saying that somebody played just the tip?
Yep.
The tip. Are you saying you didn't go the full 90?
No.
As some certain Lotharios?
No, they just played with me.
Fair enough. Okay, so you guys have met our cast of characters. We got our first dick joke out of the way, so I want to make sure somebody score that. That happened with I think 5 minutes and 32 seconds into the show. Congratulations.
I was jumping at the bit, John. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But we are going to talk about soccer, and we're going to talk first of all about the game that happened last night. A classic Moledo, I think, would be the best way to describe it. Mexico against Senegal's Olympic team in Miami at Marlins Park, a stadium that is, we could see, used more for baseball than soccer. Once again, they had play on a field that had freshly sodded areas. There were some players that did well. There were some players that did not, and at the end of it, the score ended up being 2-0. But in friendlies like that, you really want to see how players do individually, etc., to really evaluate the value of the friendly. And of course, we'll discuss who we thought did and who did not shine last night against Senegal. But again, we're going to talk with Albert about his experience there in Miami, and we'll go over Liga MX. And of course, we'll talk about Chicharito's broken ass. But first of all, let's talk about the game. 2-0, Mexico wins with goals by Rodolfo Pizarro and Dueñas. It's not Duenas ESPN, it's Dueñas. All 164 for the Enya, for you folks that don't know. Anyway, they got the goals late in the second half from crosses from the two youngsters. One guy who no one really understood why he was on the team, and Candido Ramirez. And of course, the other guy, Irving Lozano, who is one of the, I guess, brightest young stars that Mexico has. We'll go ahead and start with you, Daniel, since you're the sickest. Want to make sure we get your point of view across before you lose your voice. Did you watch the game? What were your impressions?
I did watch the game. Very obviously, I mean, it's hard to be overly critical when the players themselves have played together, probably never, most of them anyway, and so it's kind of hard to gauge it or be overly critical from that standpoint. But yeah, it looked really bad. But to Osorio's points, which I do agree with, the chances that Senegal did have came off mistakes, and then again, in hopefully what becomes typical Osorio fashion, the team responds in the second half and makes it look nice at the end, even though it may not be the prettiest. But he's definitely getting results.
Okay. Is there who
Um,
impressed
and
you?
also, I guess I was gonna say Lozano, and actually Candido was pretty good too. I didn't really expect much for a guy who doesn't really play much. To be honest with you, the one thing that stood out to me the most, and I'm sure everybody will comment on it in probably greater depth than I will, but was gosh, of course, in typical me fashion, I'm forgetting his name.
You talking about the
Jerry?
defender?
Yeah, Jerry
Flores.
Lopez Flores. Sorry, Jerry Flores, dude. He was frustrating because I think he made Jurgen Damm look like he had a bad game because he would just never pass him the ball.
So you thought that Jerry Flores had the worst game. It's interesting.
Yeah, it aggravated me because then, I mean, if the ball went to him, is basically guaranteed that there was going to be no, it was good. The ball was definitely going to go backwards, basically.
No production.
Yep.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll discuss that in further detail after we get everyone's little taste of the game. Christian, did you get on the East Coast? You actually had a game that started at a decent hour. Usually, when Mexico plays friendlies, they're out in LA where the game starts at 11 o'clock for you, because I know they start late for me. But you got to see it was on the East Coast. What was your initial impression?
Yeah, no, of course. It's nice to have games that are at a reasonable time on this side of the U.S. I went I kind of ate the, what do you call it, la finta. So the game said they started, it's supposed to start at 8 o'clock, and it didn't actually start till 8:30. But I thought initially, overall the game was not very good, and I knew that going into the game. It's a friendly game, like Dan said, with a lot of players that hadn't played together, but most importantly, simply because we were going to be playing an African team, and regardless of the quality of these African teams, at any given point, Mexico struggles because of the physicality and the speed with which they close down the spaces that Mexico tends to exploit. So I knew it wasn't going to be, a very, pretty game, so to speak. It got pretty towards the end because the spaces opened up and the Senegalese players sort of tired out a little bit, and their tactical discipline sort of fell off a little bit, and that's where Mexico sort of was able to get things going a little bit. But overall, the first I could do it by halves. I'll say the first half I was to me the best player was Nestor Araujo. In part because he was rocking a very strong beard, very nicely trimmed. I was impressed by that, and a little bit jealous too. But the second half, I'd say that the inclusion of Molina and Israel Jimenez, was really what was able to give Mexico a little bit of balance, both in the defense and in the midfield. Because, like Dan said, Jerry Flores was an absolute wreck. And this is a player that I've been very partial towards for the last couple of years. I think he was
a hot mess. He did not play well.
Yeah, he was not good. And Dan had a very good point. I think that in retrospect, if you look at Jurgen Damm, I think that part of the problem that he had was that Jerry Flores wouldn't release the ball quick enough when he had him in front of him.
Finally get it, Damm had a double team.
Yeah, and if he did manage to get past the two players that were marking him, the third center back for Senegal would just simply slide in, and then it was too congested for him to really exploit his strengths. In the second half, I was impressed with, like I said, Molina and Israel Jimenez, and also the inclusion of Rodolfo Pizarro really helped to give some clarity in the midfield. And by default, Edgar Dueñas was able to do a lot more as well because Zavala was just really not up to par. And I think that if anything we can take away from this game is the fact that we can look at some of the players that did well, but I think the clearer picture is the players that did not do well and are probably not going to be getting a lot of chances.
And that's a good point, because that friendlies are just as good to seeing who can't cut it, and I have no problem with that. Okay, very good point. We'll move on. Joel, did you got watch 20, 30 minutes of the game yesterday?
Yeah, I saw the last from minute 60. So I saw the last 40 minutes.
You saw
I mean,
the last
30,
one.
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
That's all you really need.
Well, let me ask you exactly. Let me ask. So you got to see the last 30 minutes. Do you find it interesting that it wasn't necessarily, but it seemed like it was all of the more or less the youngsters that played better, and then of course the older guys, the guys that didn't deserve to be there as much, not as well. I mean that was the impression that I got. What did you think?
Well, John, I wasn't really paying attention to the team as a whole. I was just looking at like individual players. But like Christian pointed out, Senegal tired out, and I think that's one of the what happens is that we didn't take into consideration there's a team that flew 18 hours to play the Molero game.
Right.
So I think it's just a difficult match in that if you lose you look bad, and then if you win you can't even brag about it. So yeah, I the only wanted to see Picolin, and then
See that's where they messed up. Man. They would have gotten a better draw if he played.
And yeah, and like Dan pointed out, Candido impressed me just because as soon as he came in, he managed to do a good cross.
And you guys know, I'm sorry, go continue, Juan.
No, that was it. That was
you guys
pretty
know
much
that
it.
Picolin was licking his chops, knowing that he had a bunch of, they already could, the Africans already have the reputation of being los inocentes, right? That's what they always call them, naive players. And then you have a guy like Picolin going up against a bunch of, 20, 21-year-olds, man.
John,
go ahead.
Do you think that there was like pressure because of the criticism from the press? So Osorio was like, whatever, just leave him in the bench.
I don't know. I don't think Osorio cares all that much. Corona was having a hell of a night. I mean, he really saved Yasser Corona's butt. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit longer. I don't necessarily think it was, mandated or decided because of other outside reasons. But we'll move on. We have someone who missed part of the Partido Molero because he was actually being a Molero, and that's Ronaldo de Luna. How are you, sir? What did you see?
Oh, actually, I didn't watch the entire game because I actually cared more about the Libertadores because it's actually a game that meant something. 20 years watching Molero games, Libertadores means a lot more to me than that. But having said that, I think it was Dan. Was it you, Dan, that said that when we play against these African teams, they steal a lot? The ball, that is.
No, that wasn't me, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay, that was you, Christian?
I might have mentioned something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So you gotta, you gotta keep your head on a swivel when you play against those type of teams because they just come out, from nowhere and try to get the ball from you. But I just, from like I said, I watched the Libertadores match, which that's for a different segment of the show here. I was not impressed, from what I saw from Mexico. I thought it was sluggish. Now, obviously, that had to do with the players not being cohesive, and that's not Osorio's fault. That's not the players' fault. It's just, it's a tryout of sorts. So, you kind of knew that this was going to happen. So, I don't, you know me, I don't think highly of Osorio, but I don't think, this result or this game should add it, gasoline
should serve as
into
a
the fire.
barometer to measure anything.
No, not at all. No, not at all. If anything, I think the criticism should go to Santiago Bathroom. What the hell were they thinking scheduling a game in Miami?
Well, I don't think he has anything to do with that.
Him and Decio and all those guys.
Dude, why do you think they went to Miami?
Well, Florida hasn't really been a place for Mexico.
Why do you think they went to Miami? It has nothing to do with
the CONCACAF meeting.
Well, not just that. That's where their rights holders have studios. They were doing other things.
I mean, Mexico shouldn't complain because I mean they're making a lot on the TV deals anyhow.
Right.
I mean, but
Well,
like
see,
I said, I
my
don't.
big issue with playing in Miami is, playing Miami fine, but do it in a fecha FIFA and then talk to England or France or somebody who actually would go, oh, Miami, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no.
Because the players would love it.
Again, I'm not. I'm in the minority. I don't think bad of these Moleto games because you should know this, John. I mean, you followed soccer, a lot longer than I have. Before, the Moleto games became the Moleto games, Mexican teams would basically play in resort towns in Mexico, whether they would go to Ixtapan de la Sal, whether they would go to Cancun, whether they would go to Cuernavaca, and they would, the teams would rent hotels and they would play like in golf, resorts of sorts. I mean, you kind of have to give it up to the owners because they're at least they're business savvy enough to make money on games that otherwise they would have lose money. I mean, I remember when Toluca would go to Ixtapan de la Sal, which is about an hour and a half away from Toluca. So I don't. Good for them. I mean, if they can make the money, make the money. But I just thought that the place where they went was stupid, considering what you're saying is it's not a FIFA date. You don't have your stars. You're going with BC teamers. Yeah. That's my biggest. That was my that.
I mean, they could have played that one in Fresno, and they would have drawn 20,000.
Yeah. So, other than that, like I said, I'm not going to critique Osorio on this. I'm not going to critique the players. It was bad and for obvious reasons.
Wow. So
I
am
happy. I am happy about the result.
You will abstain from any more commentary tonight. You will.
Yeah, from that, yes.
Okay. So my next question to y'all is, as some folks said it, friendlies are more of a individual evaluation than anything else, unless you're prepping for a tournament, etc. Especially a game like this. That there were a lot of folks that had that played well and made a good impression. Of course, there were some that did not. I'll give you two. I'll get one that did and one that didn't. In my opinion, a guy that really looked good was Israel Jimenez. I think he's been playing great for Tigres. I think he is going to give Paul Aguilar a real run, or whoever plays on the right, because I think Layun will definitely end up on the left. Is going to give them a real run. I think that's the reason why Layun is playing on the right, because they have no one on the right. I don't think that they like Aguilar, and so I think Jimenez really, really, really helped himself. A guy who didn't, and I can't really blame him because he hadn't played at all since he'd hurt himself, was Yasser Corona. I think it was kind of mean to ask him to play a game like that with very little prep time, or I guess for him to get back in rhythm. But he made three huge mistakes. All three of them led to scoring chances. One where they should have scored. I mean, the guy missed a sitter. I mean, it was right there. Great save by Corona. So those two guys, to me, in my opinion, were the ones that helped themselves the most and hurt themselves the most. So, anybody else have anything to add? Oh, Albert, good Lord! We have to move on and talk about your experience there in Miami. So please, Albert, tell us about your experience.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I got there yesterday. They were practicing and everything on Tuesday. I didn't make that, but got there Wednesday. Arrived at the stadium about 3 or 4 hours early, and the sponsors, Makita Tools, Home Depot, Allstate, AT&T had all their stuff ready to go. There was maybe 3 or 4 families out there. I waited a few hours. People started arriving and everything. I walked around because I was going to go check out Pancho Villa's army down the street. And I was noticing just like the parking. The police were out there directing traffic, but there weren't many cars. Parking was still available all over the place. I think there was $15 parking, $25. It just seemed empty. I've been to a few friendlies in Houston and San Antonio and Phoenix, and it just didn't compare at all. I was waiting and waiting for people to arrive, and then I just got hungry, so I went up and ate. Took Ronnie's suggestion, went up and ate at the press box. Um, got me some grub. And
Is
then
it a product of the Boleto or more a product of the city where the game was being played?
I think it was more a product of the location.
location, yeah, and Molero. The games that I've assisted or went to in San Antonio and Houston were against the U.S. The one in Phoenix, it was packed. Also was against Colombia. That was a
I
long
mean,
time ago.
Miami's a city that can't. It's not going to pack a Mexico game.
No.
40,000 or so, unless the fans are there to see the other team. I mean, that's just the reality.
Well,
In Miami,
that's what happened when we played Colombia there about 4 years ago. It was actually a FIFA date. Now FIFA has done away with most of the friendly dates. Really, I mean, they're shortening the calendar, so there are not going to be a lot of opportunities to bring teams over to the U.S. to play friendlies because, at least on FIFA dates, because it's just there's either going to be qualifiers or official tournaments essentially. So that's one of the big things that UEFA sort of push for to minimize the extra FIFA days for friendlies. But when we played Colombia there in 2012, it was actually Chepo's first loss, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And the crowd was a majority of Colombians. I mean, I think that is one of those rare few instances that you'll see where Mexico isn't the home crowd, even in the U.S. or especially in the U.S. So
Yes.
yeah, Miami's just not a great sports town anyway, but even less so for Mexican national team games. El Tri.
Yeah, like the scalper. I was talking to a scalper. He said there's a lot of Spanish people. A lot of Spanish people. He asked me if I was Spanish. I was like, what? Like, Spanish. There's a lot of Spanish. I'm trying to sell these tickets to a bunch of Spanish people. But yeah, that was.
Isn't that the generic term though that's used on part of the East Coast for anybody who's Hispanic?
Yes, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate
it's
that.
so vague. It's
I
like
get
a vague thing you could say to somebody. Are you Spanish? No, I'm not from Spain.
But he wouldn't have it. He was being hard headed. I ain't wasting time with this dude. But yeah, anyway, I went up there, took a picture, and I posted on Twitter of the stands, and it was pretty sad. There's blue seats all over the place. So I mean, the fans were waiting for them to arrive, and some did, but it wasn't too many.
Yeah, the game only drew like 18,000 people. So
15,800, and that was a record. They said they announced it. It was a record for a soccer game.
And for baseball, because the Marlins have a terrible draw at that stadium as well.
Yeah. Hey, hey Beto, did you run into anybody from Big Soccer or anybody
No,
else?
nobody. I ran into some dudes that cover Orlando team.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own podcast. I need to check them out.
Okay, cool.
And then I saw a bunch of other guys like the Fernando Fiori, Adriana Salve, and all those typical
Where's
dudes.
the picture with her?
That was during the press conference, so I didn't take any pictures. But Fernando
you
Fiori
didn't photo bomber.
he was
You
sitting
were
up.
taking selfies there with
Now, Beto, does my reputation precede me? I mean, when they saw Soccer Chronicle, did they, give the works?
They put a little name tag on the table there where I got to sit down. That was pretty cool.
Okay, good.
And how
I wasn't like very back. I was
how
front,
far down the row were you?
spot 28. So
How close was the wall? That's my question. How close was it?
They
You mean
they didn't come up to you, shake your hand, kiss your ring finger, and say,
You guys were behind
"Aquí
home.
está Don Beto."
They didn't offer you a foot rub?
butt rub.
Oh, nice. Get that kink out.
No, but as far as the game, it was. I mean, I agree with what everyone was saying. I think Jerry Flores started out bad, but Yasser beat him out. He played even worse. And John makes a good point about his activity and stuff. So it was unfortunate. And a clip that I got that I found interesting from the press conference after the game, everyone pretty much rushed to the downstairs, and we were waiting for the mix zone for the players to come by.
You just walked right by.
We were waiting for so long. The Senegal players walked by, and we asked a few if they spoke English. Nobody did.
So, for folks that don't know, when you go to these games, after you're done, you're in the like the guts of the stadium, the tunnels in the stadium. They have an area from either, I forget, is it from the locker room to the buses, or there's a specific area that the players walk by. It's called the mix zone. It's where the media can stand and ask questions. And very few times they're gonna have players at a station where you can just, have guys come up and talk to them. They just walk by. Some guys will stop and talk, and some will not. It sounded like none stopped and talked. So how was the mix zone set up there at the baseball stadium?
It was a little like, the wall with the sponsors and everything, a little path, a green path for them to walk through, and then our barrier for us where we were standing waiting for them. They told us that Osorio was coming for the conference, so we all went there, but then we said, okay, are the players going to come at the same time? And she was like, oh, I don't know. Just peek out.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so I went in, and then I was like looking out the window to see if I could see players' heads pop by. I was listening to the press conference. I didn't want to be rude. He had a good quote. A Senegal press guy asked him a question in English, and I thought it was a good question. I have a clip of it real quick, but he answered that. It was sort of interesting. A lot of the Mexican media, threw softballs at him, so that was sort of
Play
cool.
the clip.
Yeah, and then I went out, and then when I went out, players were there, and just a few, so I didn't see the whole team or anything walk through, and I don't know if I missed people, but players were there, so I rushed out and tried to get some. But here's the clip. I won't play the because he had a bad accent. It's not really understandable. But basically,
People get the gist.
he asked Osorio like, what do you think of your team allowing almost 2-3 opportunities for a goal? Pretty much saying, what's up. And this was Osorio's response in English.
I think 3 opportunities we spoke about, but it wasn't because they really create something. It was more our mistakes. The 33rd minute in the first half, our defender, Cassette Corona, has a back control that allows you forward to go and almost score. In the second half, there is a wide free kick, a knife from the sideline border to play short. And it's a counter-attack. That was it. So I don't really think it was because the system, it was more our own mistakes and our technical mistakes.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is that even though they had those opportunities, it wasn't his tactics, it wasn't the formation, the system that they were playing that failed them. It was an individual guy. So he seemed like sort of on the defensive, where the guy was just like saying, we almost had a chance to get you guys, and he was like on the defensive, and he wasn't on the defensive with anyone else. I mean, he did mention the same sort of statement with others, but I thought that was sort of interesting.
Did you think that was defensive? Did he like back away from the podium and answer, or like stand up really menacing while he was talking?
No, it wasn't fully defensive.
Hey,
and maybe it's just his English, because maybe it's just his way he speaks English.
Yeah.
But sort of like saying, okay, you guys didn't really, it wasn't really. It's sort of forward.
I think it's the cadence, the way that the way that he talks. Like a lot of us that are, bilingual. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you switch from Spanish to English, your cadence sort of changes a little bit, simply because that's just kind of the way that it is. I don't think Osorio has it. Obviously, I don't know how fluent I don't think he's very, very fluent in English. But, I mean, I think that he has a point. I think that, without throwing Corona under the bus, I mean, it's true. I mean, he made 2 or 3 mistakes in the first half that should have been punished.
Huge mistakes.
I mean, they really should have. I mean, you look at the save that Corona had, Jesus Corona, and it was a tremendous save. But, I mean, I think that a more seasoned team, a more prepared team would have easily put those away. And then you're looking to dig out of a hole. And I think that pointing out that it was individual mistakes could come across a little condescending, especially in another language. But I think he was on point. I think if we all those of us who watched the first half, I mean, at least I remember when Corona when the ball bounced and he just took forever. We were just kind of watching it come down and waiting for it to settle, when he really should have just kicked it out, up, out, anywhere Bud just sat, waiting for the ball to settle, and the guy just took it, and it was just like, okay, here we go. Like, the guy is pretty much running on goal by himself. And then he made a great play. I mean, you got to give it to him. He made a great play because he saw his teammate coming parallel to him, and he just slid it right over to him, And the guy, I mean, I think he was kind of slipping and falling at the same time, but he did put it on frame. What Corona made, he followed the play and made the save. And then we're watching it on TV. One of the TV guys was saying, Osorio's probably hoping in the sideline that this is the one and only mistake that Yasser Corona is going to make. And sure enough, a few minutes later, he makes another mistake, and then he had another one after that. But, so yeah, I mean, I think that it was it could be misconstrued, but I think
as bad as Corona played. I mean, he got hurt right before the Gold Cup, so he was in rehab, and he just came back maybe a week or two ago, if that. So he has definitely less than 5 games under his belt.
Yeah.
Needless to say, this is not a guy that needs. But you know what? It's fun. I do have a question for Albert though, because Albert, I listened to that clip, and I'm pretty sure that if he would have used the cables and the recorder and plugged them in, it would not have sounded like that. So, how did you record that? I'm just curious.
That was off my phone.
Off your phone.
I was looking for those cables to plug them in, and then I
Uh-huh.
was looking like at the front of the room, and I was like, "Where is this stuff?"
Oh no, they'd be in the back where the cameras are.
Yeah, and then at the end, I looked towards
Oh,
my
I saw it.
all the people just standing there with the box open. I was like, "Oh man, messed up." But yeah, then after that, I ran out, talked to, or I tried to, get some more clips and stuff, and talked to Picolín, and then everyone, all the.
Picolín was gone, so all you saw were crickets, like tumbleweeds blowing through.
I got a quote. I got a quote from. I asked Picolín about Pumas. I can play it, but it's gonna bring out the pocho-ness in
Don't be scared.
my Spanish, but check it out.
Don't be scared.
Pumas, ¿ves que están mejorando o están ya llegaron a la final en la temporada pasada? ¿Cómo ves que están siguiendo en esta temporada de la clausura?
No, sin duda alguna no hemos tenido un buen inicio de torneo, el que esperábamos, pero bueno, estamos tranquilos, estamos trabajando para sacar esto adelante y espero, todavía el torneo es joven y confío en que no vamos a poder recuperar.
Gracias, suerte y espero volverte a ver aquí en la selección.
That was perfect, man. You got a good
Two
good
guys.
soundbite out of him.
You interviewed the coolest dude in that squad, dude.
Yeah.
That's legit, dude. I'm so impressed right now.
When they interviewed him, one dude said, "What's
If
up?"
Hoyle would suck you, he would. Hey, that's badass.
One guy said, "No, Huelen, Picolín, they put you out there to practice, and they didn't even put you in, just messing with him and stuff." And another person, like if he's in plans for future call up, but of course he doesn't know that stuff. So yeah, he was positive and everything, and I think
Did you say suerte y un abrazo?
no, I said suerte.
Oh, okay.
Suerte y un beso.
Otra vez.
That's what hijos.
Yeah, I think, and
That's
one other thing that I noticed there, Jesus Corona was out there being interviewed, and I got really close to him, and I just looking at him, and initially, from all the headbutt thing, drama and all that, I was like, man, this dude's like dangerous, and I went up to him, and he looked sort of like, sort of small, and I mean, not really small, but sort of skinny, and sort of my size.
Did you think you could take him? Like,
You sized him up. That's exactly what I was
Size him up.
Exactly what I was like, this dude's a bad dude, man. He headbutts a guy. He has like some.
But I could kick his ass.
I looked at him. I was like, man, I could take this dude.
I knew it, man. I knew it.
In Mexico, and I think I got it, man. But don't underestimate Corona, man. That dude.
So did he strike you like he had the crazy eyes? Because that's what usually
Yeah, he's got that look, man. He could turn it off and on and just like wreck somebody for sure.
I did notice the scar on the right side of his mouth. Like I don't know if he got jacked up or just.
Yeah, somebody cut him.
just the dude's gangster, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
that was a broken kawama bottle that ended up in his cheek.
Yeah.
Hey, back in 03, 04, in
Did you
in
give
Mac.
Caguama to the cheek?
No. Back in it was like '04 when I was still living in Houston. I remember I was covering a game, and I think it was Interliga, if I'm not mistaken, and Corona was there. And like I remember, like 2 weeks after the Interliga tournament was over, I ran into a girl, that also went to the University of Houston, and she was showing me pictures
Did she
of
take a Caguama to the cheek?
well, I think she did because she was showing me pictures and like in her and her friends were like in the hotel room and it was Carbona and Chuy Corona, So I mean, back then, it wasn't, you didn't really have the cell phones and stuff like that, But I just, what Chiqui's telling me about Corona, I'm thinking, dude, I don't think Corona's changed that much, dude. I think the he takes advantage of these games, national team where he goes and does things
Who was
in
the
the
one that
hotel.
went on a crazy naked rampage in a in a hotel in Chicago a few years ago? Who was that?
Osvaldo, no? Osvaldo
Was
got
it
arrested.
Osvaldo?
No, I think he was trying to. They were like, there was like they were playing music in a hotel room and running around, and somebody called the police, and Osvaldo tried to sort of man up and take things down a notch. I think he got arrested.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think he
But
got arrested.
He played anyway.
Well, the one that had court problems was Cuauhtemoc in Houston because of that damn bathroom attendant Casimiro. Still mad at him.
Yeah, but look at it this way: when Guao had to come up to Houston to take care of that, he gave the Houston press a few minutes every time.
Before he joined the MLS, to play, he had to take care of that
I know.
lawsuit pending.
He had to come up and see his lawyer and some other stuff, and he was always real friendly with the press. So he gave the Houston press a couple of days of free pub. So it all worked out for everybody.
I remember Casimiro on the news, talking about how he was bitch slapped by Cuauhtemoc in the bathroom attendant, and that he's poor and that he sends he only has 2 pairs or 3 pairs of pants and that he sends everything home. I mean, he was just giving a sob story.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he was a Chivas fan, if I'm not mistaken, though. But anyhow, I digress.
Moving on. So you got to watch the Libertadores. I watched a little of it. I knew that the end was gonna. I think we kind of all knew that the end was gonna end the way it ended. So what happened?
Puebla, Puebla's not a Libertadores. I mean, Faitelson, I read a tweet, was it yesterday or last night, that, where he says that Puebla is not a Libertadores bound team, and that's it. And I, very few times do I ever agree with Faitelson. Puebla just did not belong there. And I mean, I honestly think that we may have to reconsider giving Copa MX the position, the berth to the Libertadores, because what is it, 5 consecutive?
Yeah.
I mean, something ridiculous, like 6
yeah,
out of the.
Yeah, the last team that went through the qualifiers was Jaguares in 2011. So
yeah.
You're looking at 4 or 5 years in a row where the team that goes to the qualifiers just doesn't go through.
I mean, keep in mind, Copa MX, you're not having the best teams are either playing Copa Libertadores,
straight group stage, or
they're playing the champions, exactly.
Well,
so you're not, obviously.
Who is it?
Is that Pern?
Anyway, as you were saying.
That is Fernando.
Yeah, he's all right. So I just like, John made the comment earlier about, the African teams being Los Inocentes, innocents. It just seems like, Puebla were just, committing a lot of mistakes that you would see in the youth.
Well, it's as much that, and also, I mean, gamesmanship is so important to South American teams, especially club teams, that it's like, how far can we push a team before they snap, practically, and you really have to be ready for that. And the Mexican teams, for whatever reason, just sometimes get caught by surprise by stuff like that.
Sorry
And it
about that.
seemed like, is everything better?
Yeah, yes. Technical difficulties. No, it's just
Did everything come out all right?
yeah, very.
Right.
Your equipment's working, Frankie?
Nah, Puebla. Obviously, I think Racing's the better team. Puebla just they lost the their ticket when when they tied 2-2
Right.
in at home.
At any point yesterday, did you think that Puebla had a chance? Even when it was 0-0 for a long time. 0-0 for a long time.
No, I really didn't.
So you were just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're like, all right, when is this going to happen? I got more to make. Come on. Let's see.
Their defense was just shaky. I mean, they were just they didn't the defense didn't connect with the midfielders. The midfielders weren't connecting with the forwards. There were just mental lapses defensively. Again, we need to consider Copa MX, give it more legitimacy another way than giving the birth to the Libertadores, because honestly, I think next year it's going to be the same thing. Chivas will play the winner of this Copa MX for the Super Copa MX to go to the next year's Copa Libertadores.
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, so we have Christian said, what's 5 consecutive? It's going to be 6 consecutive. It's a shame.
So you're automatically saying it's going to be a loss with Chivas next year. Automatic.
Oh, well, I mean, whoever the winner of Copa MX is this year, I mean, they're going to have to play Chivas because it's a Super Copa. I mean, because they play Apertura, Clausura.
Oh, so they play for the okay. I understand.
So
you're saying Chivas is going to win the Super Copa? Is what you're saying?
Well, I hope not. I hope not.
But you're saying they're going to win it in order for them to be humiliated at the Libertadores playoff.
John, Chivas is actually one of the best teams, one of the best Mexican teams to play in the Cup.
They've one of the 3 that made a final.
Hey, the last time they made it using Cantera, so that the difference is we don't have mercenarios, we don't have petardos looking for the check. So these young guys, dude, they're the equivalent of like those Argentines. They want to get out.
No, I'm confused, Joel. Are you saying that the Mercenarios and the Petardos, do they play now with Chivas or do they play with another team?
No, I mean the ones that play like with Puebla and the other Mexican teams. That's why a lot of times
like
they
Monterrey.
don't. No, they're not. Yeah, they're not going to put the jersey like that.
Hoyle does have a point. Some of the players that play like on teams like Puebla and low-level teams is that their foreigners are.
You're saying they're a bunch of rangy mutts. I think is what you guys are trying to say.
Yeah.
I understand. So you're saying that they're the teams like Puebla and Jaguares and just like Morelia, teams like that. You guys think that they don't have the pedigree.
I think Morelia
to win in Libertadores.
Morelia's will be one eventually, because I mean, obviously, in 2 years' time, if the Mexican Federation follows its own rules, they're going to have to force TV Azteca to either give up Atlas or give up Morelia. Man, I honestly think that the smart
is to give up Atlas.
No, give up Morelia. Although Morelia won.
At this point, it seems like they'll do either team a favor by letting them go.
Well, it's funny you say that because, Televisa sells San Luis, they sell Necaxa, they sell Atlante, and where are those 3 teams right now?
Cemetery.
Well, one of them is in the cemetery. They no longer exist. San Luis. I mean, there's actually a new team. It's not that team anymore. They play in the Liga de Ascenso, and Atlante and Necaxa, they're also in Ascenso. So I think that's going to happen to eventually to either Atlas or that's going to happen to Morelia, one of those 2 teams. Once TV Azteca takes out the money.
But I think Televisa did an overall better job compared because those teams would do good. Necaxa was doing really good.
Teams
were doing pretty good, and They would do a pretty good job of like
Yeah, but
getting players for them.
did not get relegated.
Well,
They were
and this
dissolved.
and this goes back
They were
to
blown up.
this was
It was
this
like
goes
they were
back
like the planet Alderaan. Excuse me.
this goes back to the point that I made a couple shows earlier that the press always talks about corruption and corruption. Well, there comes a point where you're going to have to prove it. They never did. Televisa. It's not like they ever favored America and treated Necaxa and Atlante like redheaded stepchildren.
Actually, the proof is right there, man. It's actually quite clear. As soon as they stop getting the backing of the major television network,
Wait,
we're
stop the press. Stop the press. Fernando, I don't want to interrupt you, but did we say La Volpe 3 times?
La Volpe, I'm not next
Did
to
somebody
America
use the La Volpe charm?
I might have set it like a little bit low with the mute button on, but it still conjured up her.
Did you? So you used the La Volpe charm to conjure up. Fernando, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing all right. If you could bring your volume up just a scotch, that would be great. But it's good to have you on. We were talking about if you got a chance to watch the Libertadores yesterday.
Oh, me now. Unfortunately, I was
No,
watching Mexico.
well, you didn't miss much, man. Puebla was just pathetic. I mean, obviously, yes, they did keep the game 0-0 for till the second half, but it's just you knew that they were just gonna suffer. You just knew it.
Well, the Partido Molero was more important than that anyway. So trust me, I wouldn't have watched it anyway.
Would you have gone if the game was in Phoenix?
Which one? The Puebla game?
No, the Mexico. If they played Senegal in Phoenix, would you have gone?
Absolutely.
He would have been there front row. Senegal.
You would have paid the $300 seats to sit behind the sandwich boards,
Man,
so you could yell at Picolín.
He would have had He would have had a parade for the Senegal team.
And he probably would have brought selfies with some of the players because do you have the picture with Omar Bravo hanging in your house somewhere?
It's in my bathroom.
Fernando knows the African tribal mating dances, or what are they called again, Joel? what are they called again?
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Hey, well, at least you know that. What's it called? That I'm definitely getting some mating calls. Anyways, yesterday I didn't share this shit with you guys yesterday, but I was watching it at an African family's house. I was the only one cheering for Mexico, believe it or not.
That's kind of a cool experience. What was that like?
It was awesome. Pissing people in their
Did
face.
they have bubuzuelas? Did they make you blow on one?
I should have downloaded that from my phone. I'd have gone, boo. That would have been amazing. You're right. But yeah, even though they were not from Senegal, they were going for it because they were black. I was like, oh, wow. Nice. And then as soon as Mexico scored, I'm like, go! Yeah. They were telling me to shut up. Something about waking up a baby or something.
Were they being polite about it at least, or?
Who? Them?
Yeah.
Or me?
No, I know you weren't being polite. You apparently got in their face and started screaming at them.
No, one girl was like, yeah, my baby. Oh, I'm sorry. And that was it. That's as far as it went. But yeah.
How loud were you yelling goal, man?
I
Did
don't
you
remember,
shake the
man.
windows?
It was one of those things where it's an euphoria. You just know that you're doing it, but you don't remember. You just remember like.
So you're saying you had an out-of-body experience watching yourself yell "Go!"
Absolutely.
in front of a bunch of Africans. Interesting.
It's like
Wait.
you gotta do it for the moleros.
Hey, Pern, what was la botana?
Fufu. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No.
It's like this. It's like dough that it has like
Wait,
you mix it.
I have heard of it. Is it from Nigeria?
No, well, it's mainly from like Congo. That's where I've seen it the most, but it's in different countries. They have it's like dough that you mix it with other food. It's like a tortilla, the equivalent. You use it to grab other food, and
Oh yeah, I've had that at an Ethiopian restaurant. It's like a big pancake, and they put the food on top, and you use it to eat the food, like the chicken or whatever they're making.
It sounds like a taco.
No, that one's called. No, that one's different. That one's.
Oh, okay.
Are they pirateando our food?
Huh? That was called Anjara. That I actually had that too, but no, it's just totally different. It's like dough. It's like Pillsbury Doughboy dough.
Did you squeak when somebody poked you, like the Pillsbury Doughboy?
No, not really.
No. Okay. All right, gentlemen. So it's glad to have Fernando with us. He's given us his thoughts on both of those. We should probably move on. Excuse me. Speaking of, I guess we were talking about cheeks earlier. Let's talk about Cheech's cheek. Poor guy. How bad must a muscle tear in your tuchus for it to warrant being called out and then asking to be subbed out?
Blame the Chivas fans. They've been kissing that ass for years.
No, when you have buttocks problems, it's because there's a lot of boom boom.
Well, his girlfriend is she's very nice.
Because think about it. I mean, when you're boom booming, you're putting it. You're tightening up the buttocks muscles, so you're overstraining them. So
Hey.
it's one of those things like the boxing managers always tell their boxers, when they're training, no boom boom.
If that's the case, then he can do it in perpetuity as far as I'm concerned, because his hot streak has been incredible. I've never seen a guy in a long time score the way he scored, at least the Mexican for that matter, score the way he scored.
John, I feel he could have done the same in Madrid.
Oh, absolutely could have.
And he was blocked. He was cock blocked pretty bad.
Nothing drives me crazy.
There was a quote from Valdano saying about when you have a player going through that, in a hot streak, you want to play him as long as and
until he fizzles.
My nemesis.
Yeah, and as soon as Benzema returned, they just benched Chicharo.
Hey, what do you guys think of that rumor that Ancelotti is gonna take over Bayern and wants to bring Chicharito? Good or bad?
You know what? I don't think he wants to bring him. I think Bayern wants to bring him because they always do that. They always go after whatever player is doing really good.
Right.
And I think he just has to agree with whatever they say.
They were talking about.
I think he wants. I don't know how you pronounce his name. The Argentino Dybala. Is it Juventus?
The Divio. Divio? Il Divio?
It's like DYBAL, something like that.
Diwala.
Yeah, I think that's the guy he really wants.
Yeah, I don't think it would go good for him. There's got to be too many things to fall in the right place for him to. He might end up with in the same situation he was in with Real or with Manchester United.
No, but I think he's smarter now. Like I think he would demand it on his contract to get X amount of playing time.
So it wouldn't happen then.
At least guaranteed.
They won't do that probably.
Because Ancelotti will have to agree to that, and I don't think Ancelotti will agree to that.
Okay. So, does anyone have any other theories as to why our boy Chicharito strained his buttocks, his left buttock? Dan?
I'm sorry. What was the butt?
I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about Chicharito's left buttock.
Well, I definitely think he needs to ice it. I took athletic training for a small amount of time, and I believe the acronym is RICE. So it would be rest, ice, compression, elevation. And I think he'll be okay. But I don't know
That's right.
I don't know how you elevate your ass though. Well, Ronnie, I'm sure he's probably could give us better insight in that. But yeah, that's I'm sure he's gonna be fine. And as far as I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to know how you apply compression to that area. I know Ronnie knows. Tell us.
Actually, Dan's the man on this one.
It starts with a B and ends with a C. All right. No, what I was going to finish my thought about Chicharito is I really hope those rumors are just that. I actually really hope that he stays at Leverkusen for a while because the team's good. They're young. They've gotten much more popular, and I think he should stay there. It's kind of cool seeing him to be the man, and it's not the biggest club in the world, but it's still I think it's big enough where he's shining.
I think if they bring like players like the different set of defenders and maybe an attacking mid with a different variants, I think they will be really good. But if they don't, then Chicharito's gonna be starting forever but losing games. How's that gonna work for your confidence?
They're not really losing that many games, though. I mean, you think about it. I mean, they're still what? Are they still in fourth right now? I mean, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Pretty sure toward the end of the season. And I think the team has improved from the beginning. I think they dropped a lot of points early on, but I think the team, generally speaking, has done pretty well.
If they stay there though, no Champions League for next year.
Hey, Joel.
Yes.
Do you think Chicharito, like right now, staying at Leverkusen, do you think, it seems like the perception is that, he has good, like, body language right now. And, like, do you think if he would go to Bayern Munich, do you think he would just... What?
Just wanted to make my objection known. Go ahead. Proceed.
What? I'm
I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna go take a break. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Do you
He's not gonna be a limp noodle.
Hey,
I think.
Chicharito's no Bernie Sanders, man.
Wow.
I don't think Chicharo is intimidated by. I don't think he has ever been, and
now we're gonna celebrate.
We saw it like early on his first games. His first World Cup, he scored.
I just, like I see, I read Build, I see, pictures of him, and he seems like he's enjoying himself right now. That he, like when he was with Manchester, but when
Did Ronnie got booted?
Yeah, that's what he gets. It's because he's always.
It appears that
stealing his Wi-Fi from a neighbor.
Yeah, that's what happens. One thing that's always I've never understood about the argument with Chicharito was que no tiene la capacidad de jugar con los equipos grandes when he did it for 4 years.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, like, no está para los equipos grandes, and all he did was score 20 goals with Manchester United his first year.
Well, I think the problem is the perception. No, I think it's
that body language.
Well, as it's got very little to do with body language. I think it's got more to do with the perception of Hernandez as a player. But most importantly, I think Hernandez is a player that came about 10 years too late, given his skill set. He's come about at an age where there's just more that's required of forwards, and they want what Barcelona has done. With Messi and that tremendous run they had with Guardiola, it's really polluted people's minds into thinking that that's what players should strive for. And even yesterday, during the post-game analysis for the Mexico game, there was a lot of talk about Barcelona and how that's the reference point, and then subsequently also the way the players themselves function within that system. People look at Chicharito and say, well, he's just tapping it in. He's just tapping it in. He hits it with his head, with his ear, with his butt, whatever. At the end of the day, you need a player that can do that. And maybe his skill set isn't suited for Barcelona at its peak. I can deal with that. I mean, as a fan and as a fan of the player, but they're not. I mean, if scoring goals was so easy, anybody and everybody would be doing it.
Well, there's no question that Chicharito has and always has had the skill to play with the upper echelon teams. He's proven he has. I've never understood that argument, and now people are saying that the team he's playing for, he's too good for that team.
You know why, John?
He needs to play somewhere else. You
know why, John? Because they look at skill when you say skill, and they want to see like
Step overs and
ball dribbling, like something Neymar or Messi would do. But
right. But
I would say something that Chicharo has that's world class is his off the ball movement.
Absolutely.
He's really good, and it's very difficult to mark him. He's very fast.
Of course, and we have reference points within the national team of players that play up top that it could be argued that they're more skilled or whatever, but they don't knock in the goals the way Hernandez does.
He did have a nice step over a few games back.
Yeah, he scored a nice goal. You're right.
They're comparing that to the Ronaldo goal. I remember from Brazil whenever he played the World Cup. That was
It's just easy to knock the guy. He can be clumsy or he can pull a step over and score a nice goal in the bottom corner. It's just that's just the player that he is. That's what we have, and I think that he could perform at if given the time he could perform consistently for a good team, for an upper echelon team. But when you think about it as well, I mean, Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or Barcelona, they can go out and buy Luis Suarez or any other kind of player that is maybe more suited to that modern day, that has those attributes that people from China and India and anywhere else will tune in to watch these games. And these are the people that buy the Bayern Munich jerseys for $100 or $150 or we'll take them to Barcelona.
Yeah. Hey, Christian, you guys were saying about Chicharito, if he goes to Bayern and stuff like that, Guardiola, they're going to be playing that Barcelona tiki-taka type style. So obviously Barcelona right now is with the MSN. So you think Chicharito's like more capable to be playing like with the BBC combo over there?
I don't listen. On the one side of it, on the serious side of it.
You really go a long way for this.
I don't know. I don't know if
he's been silent for the last 20 minutes. Just writing things out.
Listen, I don't know if he can take the BBC, man. I can tell you that. I don't know if he can take the BBC. I don't know if he can contribute to the BBC at that level. But he's a guy who's gonna knock him in, and all you need is a tip. You get the tip in. You put the goals in, everybody's happy, Everybody cheers. We all celebrate.
Yeah, I got a question. Remember Jared Borghetti a long time ago? He got stared down by Goot. Remember that?
Yeah, the Gucci.
Yeah, it's that stupid picture that the Neds like to use.
Stare down?
Yeah, the stare down.
Michael Bradley recently tried to stare down Chicharito. So who had the better body language between Jared Borghetti and Chicharito?
Ooh.
Oh, Chicharito all the way.
We need to see a picture for that.
Do you need proof? Yeah.
Chiqui's like.
I agree. I think Jared was like looking down. He had it. It reminded me of somebody, but he was looking down when Gooch was all in his face. So.
You too, dude.
No offense.
That's a great question.
Was he emasculated?
Was he covering his balls too?
I don't even know the context behind this, man. I'm just doing what I thought.
We'll end it here with this Chicharito bit, but for anyone to think that Chicharito would be intimidated by anything, it just cracks me up. Knowing the guys that he's had to go up with over the past, it's his sixth year that he's over there. What's gonna intimidate him?
I think
Bradley absolutely will not.
I think Martin, a couple years back, wrote an article defending Chicharito, and he was asking rhetorical questions like the type of questions that he was asking, who here is works for the best company in their field and is among the top 10 or top 20 players, or who holds a position, a profession, and is considered, the best in the top, 10 in the world. So the point that Martin was trying to use was that the criticisms onto Chicharito were unfair because the guy, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and now Leverkusen. You don't get there by by accident or by tapping balls or fluke goals and stuff like that. You get there because you're an elite player.
Right, and the other thing that Chicharito has, and I think that
You forgot Chivas in the lineup, but go ahead.
You get there because of body language.
But
Hey, you get
the
there
one
by
thing,
body
and
language,
if for young players that admire Chicharito, if there's one aspect of his game that I really want him to copy and emulate, it is his professionalism and his work ethic. I don't think anybody works harder than that guy, and I don't think anyone is a better pro than the way that Chicharito conducts himself both on and off the field.
You're right, John. Because one of the,
Yeah.
what I remember, when Chicharito was first year in Manchester, I remember my brother. I mean, he watches soccer, but he doesn't watch it as religiously as I do. I remember he made a comment saying, "Dude, Chicharito, I mean, he bulked up. I mean, you could tell. I mean, he puts in the hours, man.
Yeah, there's no question.
Physically, he put in the gym practices.
He's made himself a better player.
He's a guy that's perfectly aware of his shortcomings and has worked to sort of shorten that gap, and sort of, take his strengths to a new level. I mean, there has been a lot of debate, especially this year, given his form, about what his real quality is. Where he stands with regards to the top players in the world. It's hard to say, because this is all very subjective. But I think that he's definitely in the top 5 when it comes to players in the box.
Chicharito has the greatest quality. He scores goals.
Exactly.
Period.
Every team needs a guy that scores goals. I mean, especially, when one of the things that kills me, when it comes to analyzing the talent level of Liga MX and the players that are eligible for the national team is you hear a lot of sort of vague analysis in the sense that people will say, well, we don't have a lot of forwards, no muchos delanteros, and that's fine. But that's not a problem that's exclusive to Mexico. There's just putting the ball in the back of the net, as simple as it seems.
That's a worldwide problem.
Thing to do. Exactly. And I'm perfectly sure of this, that 5-10 years on the road, when Chicharito retires or eventually he comes off that peak.
No, we're gonna celebrate.
We're gonna say, hey, we need a player like him, and then people will say, well, remember the 10 years when he was playing in Europe and knocking in the goals, and people, all they could find was ways to pretty much knock him down. It's one of those things where you don't know what you got until it's gone. And
that happened with Borghetti. That happened with Hermosillo. That happened with Hugo Sanchez.
Absolutely.
Well, they tear everybody down.
Chicharito is, within the context of the national team, will be probably on a level closer to, above, I think, those guys, I think personally, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done after the next World Cup and whatever else he does after that, I think he'll be remembered as a guy that's on a level above those guys.
You think he'll be above Hugo Sanchez?
Well, that's the thing. Hugo Sanchez, with the national team, and when I was younger, by the time I started really being a fan of the national team, Hugo was pretty much he was pretty much done. The whole thing that happened in '94, where Mejia Barón didn't put him in or wanted to put him in a position that he didn't want to play, and that was kind of the end of it for Hugo with the national team. But the numbers don't, he didn't do much with the national team in that sense. Club-wise, he obviously did, but I think that Chicharito will be probably a little bit higher than Hugo with the national team when it's all said and done.
Chicharito's obviously done a lot more with the national team than Hugo.
Couple of things. Before we hang on.
Go ahead.
Couple of things.
Don't bust that nut yet.
All right. It's okay. So, Hugo Sanchez, yes, maybe he may not have scored as many goals as some other players have for the national team. You have to remember they were banned for 2 years.
Yeah, their best. They at their peak, they missed the World Cup.
When he was at his maximum. So there's that, and until somebody does what Hugo did at the club level, where he did it, and with the team he did it.
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
And there's probably it's gonna be a long time before anybody does that. I mean, not just Mexicans. I mean,
yeah, period, exactly.
The closest comparison to what Hugo did I mean, in the modern times, you're looking at Messi, Ronaldo, probably Ibrahimovic, just constantly scoring
Yeah,
goals.
look how much praise these guys get, and Hugo did it 5 times in a row.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. You got to separate the club and the national team. I don't think Chicharito will have as illustrious a career as Hugo Sanchez, because Hugo Sanchez really did literally touch the sky when he was at Real Madrid. But with the national team, I think the argument could be made in favor of Hernandez. Hernandez, for all you poachers out there.
No, and and Chicharito, I agree, but he's gonna have to go a real long way to matching Cuauhtemoc if he wants to be considered the best national team
That's
player.
probably a good comparison. There.
But he will be the all-time leading goal scorer.
Yeah,
right.
He'll get that probably by the end of the year.
Did any of you guys actually happen to watch that interview that Hector Herrera did with FIFA? It's kind of interesting when he spoke about Rafa, saying that he by far the best player that Mexico's ever produced. I'm not sure if that's what he really thinks, but it was actually interesting hearing him say that above putting Rafa above Hugo.
I think he has a
They
good
play different positions. That could be very well be true.
You can make the argument. I mean, Rafa, you have to remember, this is a kid that captained a national team at 22. You know, he left Liga MX, or at that point it wasn't really branded as Liga MX, but he went to Monaco. He was defender of the year. I think he was like
league champion.
League champion, defender of the year in France.
Do you guys remember his first Copa America?
I remember it vaguely.
Mexico, Chile, and Chile at that point had Salas and Zamorano.
Were he and Torrado the stars of that team?
Yeah, and the funny thing is that the Monaco scouts had gone to see one of the Chilean players, and they ended up
taking Rafa. You know,
yeah, well, they took both of them, but I mean, those two strikers were at the top of the game.
Speaking of Rafa, now that we have a good chance to move to another topic, in this case, Liga MX. What? Yes, who's making someone's making a margarita?
I think maybe that's Fernando. Fernando,
my apologies.
Yeah, keep the margarita making on mute, please. And as I was saying, good segue for us to talk about Liga MX. I think we have Joel pointed this out earlier when we're having our production meeting, that Rafa had some very interesting things to say this week about Atlas, and I think I have it here.
No lo sé, digo, es también parte de la adaptación, parte del nuevo técnico, también carecemos de ciertas cosas en el equipo, por ejemplo, no tenemos laterales naturales en el equipo, entonces se intenta también adaptar a ciertos jugadores para esas posiciones, entonces digo, con lo que tenemos que seguir trabajando, tenemos que tratar de encontrar un equilibrio y mejorar en nuestros partidos, pero aún así, digo, pues tenemos que mentalizarnos a hacer lo mejor que se pueda durante este torneo. Ha cambiado la directiva ya de hace un año o más, si no me equivoco, y bueno, eso pues ha cambiado también la filosofía del equipo. Ahora, como te digo, creo que son otros dueños que a lo mejor no están muy interesados en las fuerzas básicas y buscan los resultados rápidos, pero desafortunadamente, pues no, hoy en día no tenemos laterales.
Strong words from someone who, as you guys pointed out, got to leave at a very young age because of the tutelage and teachings that he received. Of course, his natural ability as well, but someone who graduated from an academy sees this very same academy he graduated from in tatters, according to him.
Is he describing more than just Atlas? I think he's describing a lot of teams.
No, he's talking about Atlas.
He's specifically describing Atlas.
Yeah, specifically, but I think he could be talking about. I mean,
no, Chiquis, no.
It applies to others, man. Everyone wants.
No.
Everyone wants the title.
I know you were going to say it.
No, I'm not talking about Chivas. I'm not talking about Chivas. I mean, they're in a bad situation anyway. They're not worrying about fuerzas básicas, but other teams are more interested in winning the Copa instead of bringing in young players and working on all that stuff. even though that stuff helps. But I sort of agree with him.
I totally understand where he's coming from because he's used to be playing a style of football like La Volpe style, que juegan, they play from the back. So him, struggling with not having the right players in the right position, they don't play the natural laterales. I totally understand him. It's out of his element.
Yeah, but also he.
But hey, hold on, excuse me, Joel. Keep in mind, okay, that look, he left Atlas. Atlas was basically a non-prof organization. Right now, they're a corporation from TV Azteca. I mean, Morelia was never known to produce players in bunches.
Yeah, but Morelia
So-
before they were bought out by TV Azteca did not have the reputation of doing that. Atlas does.
Well, exactly, and that's that's my point. It's not just the entire. Beto was saying, well, no, that's just everybody. I said, no, that's not everybody. Chivas produces, they've had their rough pumps, but for the most part, they produced. Puma would produce. America produced. I mean, they just recently they won the under 20s like 3-4 times in a row. Pachuca obviously is doing well.
You work that comment in almost as much as dick jokes. I've noticed. You're America U20, 3-time champions. Bam.
Did I ever tell you about the time they won 5 matches in 8 days? No, I try to throw that one in there all the time.
Yeah.
No, yeah. No, but I'm just saying, it's just I understand I don't think it's a knock that he's that he's bashing TV Azteca, but it's an observation that's right. I mean,
like a wake up call.
No, it's just TV Azteca. They have a completely different philosophy than what Atlas used to.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say he came out during the wait. He came out. Okay.
Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, ya hablaste, Ronnie. Yeah.
Yeah, cállate, Ronnie. Come on. Talk.
My hand's been up for 10 minutes. He came out of Atlas. He benefited from the youth setup from around the time that Bielsa had helped set up. So I mean, I bet he could see the difference, from how they were just producing all type of players, and for a long time the national team was the core group was all Atlas.
I mean, there's no question they produce players. I mean, they've been around
Borghetti,
since the
Pardo.
turn of the century. Yeah, you just go down the list.
It was Borghetti, Pavel Pardo, Rafa Marquez.
Dani Osorio.
Dani Osorio, Cepeda. You had what's his name? You had like 3 keepers. Cabuto. You had, who was the other one? Forget the name.
Do you guys think that Atlas has been as bad as it is because Huerta is a fan of theirs? Do you think that is the curse of Huerta?
That definitely plays a huge part in it.
There's no question it does.
Absolutely.
Well, what's the name? El Perro Bermúdez is also Atlas, so you never know.
Yeah, but he's also a spaz. So
yeah, but Perro Bermúdez isn't just a chronic cynic.
I honestly think that they needed to. The Mexican legal system needed to, I guess, do what they did in Spain, where you had the SAA, the Sociedad Anónima, but they created something specifically for soccer teams where they call them now Sociedad Anónimas Deportivas, SAD. So basically, it's almost like a hybrid of a non-profit but also a for-profit organization.
Right. They call those not-for-profit.
It's kind of like a hybrid. And
they're called not-for-profits. Like, we don't make any profits.
Well, no, technically, La Asociación Civil is a non-profit. That's what they were.
Right.
But
now they're a not-for-profit. In other words, the NFL is a not-for-profit.
Right.
Period.
But what I'm saying is that they should have done something to keep Chivas a non-profit, to keep Atlas a non-profit, to keep. I think the only one that is still not they're actually a co-op, Cruz Azul. But I think that was really the thing that forced Chivas or Atlas to basically kiss their academy, kiss their ways, because they just weren't making the money anymore. It was
Was that
hard for them
about
to.
Cruz Azul? Did you say Cruz Azul?
No, Cruz Azul is not a non-profit. They're a co-op.
¿Y la Cruz Azuleó?
Yep.
Fair enough. I noticed on Saturday that Santos played Panamerica. Final score was 2-0. Oribe scored the first one, and he did the no celebró bit.
Oh, he looked genuinely upset about it.
Yeah, it was like you could just tell he wanted to throw up.
He's
But
like,
he had to do it.
I hate. You could tell he definitely had. I hate this effing team look on his face. But take this freaking goal already.
You know what it reminded me of? Remember in Game of Thrones, the very first scene when Ned Stark has to cut that guy's head off? He's like, because
Yeah.
his duty.
He's like, I must
that's
do this.
That's what Oribe looked like. He looked like Ned Stark.
That's a really nice goal too, though. I mean,
yeah.
Paul Aguilar, danced around. Who was the left back? I can't remember who the left back for Santos was. Puts in a beautiful cross. Oribe gets his dome on it.
It was a nutmeg. It was a nutmeg, and then he crosses it.
Yeah, it was really nice, and I think it just highlights that there are a couple of players that can play on that side of the field for the national team.
Yep.
But it was a decent game.
What was your take on it, Dan? The officiating.
Here we go.
Honestly, I didn't think it was that terrible. There were some questionable calls that went against this, and it's like, well, I mean,
nobody got beat up.
I didn't really think the loss was really attributed to that. I think going forward, Santos had very little idea of how to break the defense, or maybe I don't know, maybe the intention was just to sit back, because it just seemed like the first half they were content with just messing up the game, and America slowly toward the latter half of the first half kind of gained control and started creating chances, and I was thinking, like, if we can just get out of the first half with a 0-0 tie, and maybe kind of shake the arms, but unfortunately the goal did fall right before the halftime, and I think at that point I pretty much thought the game was going to be over, even though they kept it close to the end.
Now, obviously, you know that America hasn't been playing well at home. Do you think America used Santos as a slump buster?
Nonsense. Actually, what I would say is quite to the contrary. I think most objectives, or most people that watch, were thinking that this was kind of a good test for both teams because of how the seasons have panned out, and I think everybody kind of figured this was a good solid matchup to see of the stronger teams. Now, personally, I think it was like a failed test for Santos, because all their victories have kind of come against weaker opposition. At least that's what it looks like now. And for America, this is I think they would consider this a quality win, even though they're not going to want to admit to it. I think as the amount of there was some kind of hype building up to this game. I think everybody kind of saw it as it was in them.
It was game of the week.
Congratulations, Ronnie, your team won.
You didn't say that. You told me to eat a dick. I mean, sorry.
I thought it was a bag of dicks.
No, he told me to eat a dick.
Ronnie.
I
was just figuring you were hungry, and I figured, maybe you're busy with all that mole. Maybe you just don't forget to eat.
Maybe you figured it was the way that he celebrates.
To our fans, I actually wanted to bet Dan before this game, and I wanted to put it, all on the line. But I don't think Dan read the tweets.
It's okay, man. You can guys fight about all those scraps or whatever, but let's just remember that who's the super leader? Monterrey. That's the one you should be talking about.
Let's preface your last win, though. So, I mean, statistics, like, as Ronnie is very familiar with, statistics can easily be manipulated to present any kind of argument. So that stat of them being super leader,
how can
we can pretty much add? You could pretty much add the 3 points to whoever Dorados is playing, and then just give those points. So I'm not overly impressed with the 3 points.
I think Dorados plays Pumas this weekend. I got a feeling that Dorados is going to get their first win.
It's Chivas Junior, anyway.
Well, I think at this point, when everybody's thinking like they're bound to break the slump at some point, and it's just like who's going to be that sorry ass team that
it's going to be Pumas.
that has to have egg on their face.
I don't even think Dorados has scored a goal.
Yeah, I just remember the ref issue with the America game. America got a shot. Oh no, Santos took a shot. The America guy was like flying up in the air with his arms out, hit the guy in the arm, and they didn't call a handball. And the Santos coach was going,
"Dare
they?" I think there was another one later on too.
So you can see that America in one week, the refs will be against them,
right?
And Codesal has to go and all that stuff. But then another week, the refs will sort of be like, let's go. Let's let them get a win.
I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna get you any more press passes.
Well, they got to let them get a win so that they don't make it obvious that they're against.
We were tweeting about this. I didn't even remember until Ronnie mentioned where.
So they pick on Santos.
I don't know. It's just random.
I mean, I figure the 5 stars
out of the hat.
There's just incompetence all around.
It was a name out of the hat.
I think my Santos are one of the most legit organizations in the league, and I think they deserve a little bit better than that.
There's something I don't like about Santos. I don't like that Alejandro Inagorri.
Why don't you
like? What don't you like about him?
Did he snub you?
No, it's just when they were building.
Did you guys show up one day wearing the same outfit?
No.
It's because I think he values foreigners.
No, well, that kind of just pisses me off. But the thing, they're always hiring foreigners, these guys. But no, when they were building their new stadium, I remember I saw a picture of him, and like there was all the engineers and all the architects, and they're all wearing.
He was in a picture.
No. They were all wearing construction, construction helmets. And you know what type of construction helmet he had on? He had one that was shaped like a goddamn cowboy hat, but it was in plastic. I mean, he looked like such a tool, like a fucking tool. It's like, Jesus, you don't belong.
Ronnie, it sounds like you were saying, why didn't I think of that?
That's right.
No.
Yeah. He beat you to it. He beat you to it, man.
No, it's just like, he's like, Jesus, what an idiot. I mean, you're walking around there with architects, you're walking around there with engineers, you're on a job site.
I think it's kind of
at least look the part.
What a valid reason to dislike someone, Ronnie.
What's that? It's the body language. It matters.
Yes, of course.
That's a perfectly valid reason to hate somebody, man. I mean, let's be honest.
So you're saying when you really want to send somebody a message, Ronnie, you send them a box that has a plastic cowboy hat on him, so they really know.
He looked like a tool, dude. You just have to.
How you feel about it?
I think you just described every rich guy though, with too much money.
No.
They're all pretty douchey, man.
In fact, I'm gonna find that picture right now.
Yeah.
On the Big Soccer, I'm gonna have to try to find this.
Ronnie has a mission. You'll have to find that picture. Well, this week, I believe that Santos plays Monterrey. And I want to say that when does Santos play now? Because they're one of those teams that never has a set schedule. Do they play on Friday night? Is it Saturday night?
I think it just depends on who we're playing.
Oh, really? So it's not like Pumas, where I know that Pumas is going to be on at noon every other Sunday?
No, I usually got to keep my head on a swivel just to make sure I don't miss it, because oftentimes they will stick them on Friday.
Oh, that's what happens.
This was playing tomorrow.
Teams.
Yeah, they're playing Friday, Monterrey.
Yeah, so
that's
Friday,
what
I guess.
Those little teams get pushed around.
Yeah.
And somehow we still managed to add additional stars at a higher rate than almost just about everybody, just with the exception of a few.
So you guys are going to bet something? And in turn?
I think we should.
Oh, shit, man.
I don't think Dan has the balls.
Wow.
Super leader.
How's my body language right now? My shoulders are slumping. And
Well,
what's the
your voice
bet?
is quivering.
What's the bet? No, that's my Sunday. Don't get us confused. And he's egging me on. He's like, fuck him up, Dad.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money.
We're betting money?
Wow, cash. Hard cash from Pern.
Is that legal?
Across states, yeah, why not?
Yeah, dude, I'll bet you $20. Is that enough for you?
If that's what you can, that's cool.
Oh yeah, dude.
Hey, snap!
I stole Cheeky's 25 for his plane ticket. So yeah, I'm a little bit behind. Says the bill
All right.
collector.
So what does a tie do? Just split? No money split.
No, yeah. Just we'll just leave it.
Okay.
We'll just leave it at that.
Well,
Give
you
it to
could
the
make it
tie.
interesting. Somebody could give somebody odds and throw the tie in as a kicker. Just saying.
Well, see,
Someone who maybe might be confident say, you know what, I am so confident we're going to win this game that if they lose or tie, I'm going to give you $25 for the 20.
My issue is that I'm way too centered and I'm well too thought out. So I'm sure you're talking about Fernando.
wait, what? I'm sorry, I got lost track of thinking about
Meaning if you're so
Saying,
confident,
someone who
if you're,
is
I'll
confident
explain
might
it to
want
him
to throw
now.
the tie in as a kicker. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like if you're so sure about your sorry ass shitty team, why don't you make it just a clear bet? Like say, hey, even if we tie, I lose. That's what he's
right.
saying.
Okay, I'm down.
Damn.
Nice.
Because
All right, it's a bet.
Your Funes Mori is not going to let Monterrey tie.
Not only did he throw the gauntlet, he put the gauntlet into the shape of a middle finger before he threw it. Very impressive.
I'm just glad that I somehow improved my odds, even if I end up losing though. At least I played it smart.
Well, that's good. See, whatever helps you, man.
Yeah, I'd rather talk my way into get an advantage.
That's what she said.
Well, our time's just about up. I'm just curious if any of you folks have anything to add before we wrap it up here tonight.
I just wanted to, well, we actually passed the 20-minute mark. I wanted to give a shout-out to our boy D. Great, because he always tunes out about 20 minutes in. And, I hope this time you stuck around, man. I hope you stuck around. You listened to this.
So, in other words, your message is coming an hour late.
An hour and 17 minutes late.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm sure he's still listening, or tomorrow maybe.
I'm pretty sure do you think he's the kind of guy that would get offended by the first dick joke and just turn it off?
Well, you'd have to question your friends if they get offended by dick jokes,
That's
Oh,
true.
maybe he has your voice on a loop right now in his bathroom.
Hey,
Well,
hey now.
I'd hope not, for sure. Any kind of thoughts? I mean, we're gonna have some interesting games this weekend, and I'm kind of.
I have a comment or a question for you for the panel here.
Well, it's either a comment or a question.
So, just for you actually, who do you think? This is actually a Spaso question right here. Who's the better player, Mario Götze or Chicharito, even with the butt injury?
Well, that's a rough one. I mean, Mario Götze is a World Cup champ. I think that kind of says a lot there.
Play for his team though, right? He doesn't play for his team too much.
He doesn't play a lot, but mostly because he doesn't quite fit into what Guardiola is doing, and it's not really a big deal because he's leaving anyway. So I think he'll become an integral part of the Bayern Munich attack once Guardiola he's going to leave, and you got Arjen Robben and Frank Ribery are getting up there, and I'm not sure how much longer they'll be able to really be full-time contributors. So I mean, it's a bit of a he's got to bide his time a little bit, but I mean, if worse comes to worse, he could always just go back to Dortmund. It's not a big deal. I think at the end of the day, the guy has a World Cup ring, and we're sitting here talking about it.
Well, I was just asking, do you guys know if Mario Götze has ever scored that many goals in the season for any German team?
I don't think he has.
His one goal he scored is more valuable than any goal Chicharito has scored. I could say that.
Nah, I'm with you there.
There's no question. No question. Well, Albert, now that you've had your first press box experience, are you going to go back for seconds?
Yeah, man, I gotta hone my skills. That was fun. It was good to be around all those dudes. And
Was there any cheering in the press box? I thought it was embarrassing when they cheered. Any cheering in the press box?
No, there wasn't no cheering.
No, everyone was very quiet.
Yeah, some people were just like talking and just talking amongst themselves and
Not even watching the game.
yeah.
Well,
I'm sure they were, but they were discussing, sort of distracted. Oh, I don't think I mentioned, but Fernando Fiore was sitting on the front row during the press conference, and he was just like relaxing, just like not even paying attention, just like chill.
What does he do now? Like, where's he work?
He's on Fox.
He got kicked. He got booted out of Univision.
He's
They
on
brought
Fox.
some
He's on
younger.
Fox. He's going to be on the World Cup. He's going to be on Fox's World Cup coverage in 2018.
Doing English though, right? Or is it Spanish as well? In
I
English,
believe it's
which
going to
is
be in English.
that's even more cringeworthy.
Yeah, what is he going to bring to the table? I mean, the Fox guys have a couple of national team players from the U.S., former national team players.
He's gonna bring L3 to Fox.
They've already started. They had their first show last night.
Fernando's got a point. They got the rights for the English language rights. I guess they must have taken them from ESPN. ESPN used to do national team games in English.
Yeah, they want to get the Azteca game in the qualifier. That's why they take the rights.
But this goes to the point that I made before, like on a previous episode, of how just bad bilingual journalists are that could pull it off in English. Because, man, that guy's such a clown.
You know, I really trashed him last year when I was running for Big Soccer, and I felt that the dude responded to me because apparently Univision took because the headline said, obviously they didn't read the article, or maybe they did, I don't know, but it said Univision Deportes is Univision Deportes is killing it at the World Cup, right? And I wrote that, but then I said, but the best part about it is that he is less and less part of the deal, because I never liked the guy. I thought, like you guys said, I just thought he was a clown. I just thought he was. Well, I said what I said.
Yeah.
But and he responded to me. He's like you should never say, unless you walk in someone's shoes. It was interesting that he responded.
You must have. Well, that's true. But
I guess, but he's seen him how just he literally clowns it up. I mean, that's what he brings on República Deportiva was just him with a bunch of shtick that he doesn't do well, and now he's basically offering that in English. Because I don't think he ever analyzed. I don't think he was ever really well spoken on the actual X's and O's in a game. And now he's going to be considered an expert.
Not at all.
Because he covered the league for a long time, which in that sense, he is knowledgeable in that respect. But
he was never an analyst. Even going back to like the '98 World Cup when Univision had, they've had the rights forever.
His first World Cup.
Yeah, he was the guy that was like.
I found it.
Oh no.
Hold on. It's in the Mexican Stadium's thread number 2. But shit, you can't see the pictures. They're no longer.
Mind if I interrupt for a second, just real quick?
Okay.
See, Joel, if you would have used this kind of dedication that Ronnie just did to find this picture, you might have found the third shooter.
I gave up after some of those pictures of holding hands. They were being posted.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That hand holding threw me off.
Hey, Chiquis, you're the security expert here. Okay, Fútbol de Primera FDP posted back in 2009. Avances Territorio Santos Modelo.
What happened to that guy?
He died.
No. So anyhow, he posted one of the pictures, and I responded, I would fire that guy for wearing that shit. Because FDP kind of wrote, I got to find me one of those cowboy-style hard hats. No joke.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind having one of those too, just to have it. I'm not sure I would wear it around,
I would probably buy one of those and send it to you by mail and say, get some thicker skin.
The cowboy hard hat is a lot like the scarf. It's a lot like
not cowboys like the Dallas Cowboys. I'm talking like a cowboy hat, but it's like a construction hat.
Like a 10-gallon hat made out of plastic.
No, I get it. And what I'm saying is that if you're a gangster, which obviously you're not, Ronnie, but if you were a gangster, you could pull that shit off without even batting an eye.
Yeah, he's got a point.
Just like the cardigan and just like the scarf. Only insecure little men.
Oh,
Jesus, they work hard.
Real men will rock the cowboy hat.
He's got a point.
Yeah,
Zero
I get it.
insecurities, my friend.
Dan, are you saying
Similar
that you wear
to
a
like body
cardigan?
language.
Are you wearing a
Yeah,
cardigan right now, Dan?
that's exactly what it
No,
is.
I wore it on Monday.
Monday's cardigan day, apparently.
Today I'm wearing an
Pull
extra medium
over.
t-shirt.
Pull over.
Good lord.
No.
All right. Well, I think that on that note, we should
It's a
probably
cardigan, but thanks
put,
for
put, a,
asking.
put, a, put
You
an
know
end to
that's
the show. We have run a little late on time.
you know where that's from? It's from Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
Pull over. Pull over.
All
Right.
right.
In the Los Acero podcast. Thank you guys for joining us again. And didn't see any questions this time, but for you folks that are listening on iTunes, please be sure to catch us live. We're on YouTube every Wednesday, usually around sometime between 9 and 9:30 Central, which is 10:30 Eastern, and 8 Pacific and 7, or I'm sorry, 8 Mountain, 7 Pacific. So, really glad that you were able to join us tonight. Christian, thank you very much.
Thank you, lads.
Daniela, always a pleasure.
Thank you. A pleasure as always.
Albert, you popped your cherry. Congratulations.
Thank you. Had fun.
Fernando,
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
very
I
interesting bet. We're going to have to keep an eye on that.
definitely. And you know what? Dan needs to have that little picture of that guy that says you're gonna get raped whenever he talks to Ronnie.
Well, I think we can probably don't have to worry about that or have that. Joel, always a pleasure.
Likewise, John.
And Ronnie DeLuna from up in Philadelphia, making your mole. Thank you so much as always.
Thank you, guys.
Well, this has been the Dos Acero podcast, but don't forget to join us next week. About the same time, 9:30, and of course you can catch us live on YouTube or listen to the archive version. You can download it off iTunes. My name is John Jagu, and it's been a pleasure, and we will talk to you guys next week.